my brothers and sisters in Yahuwah Elohim, and welcome to our Midweek Bible study. I hope y'all are having a good week. I hope it's zipping right by for you. Well, gang, go ahead and grab something to drink and get yourselves comfy. Grab your Bibles so that way you're reading along with me, eyes to see, ears to hear, And tonight we'll be finishing our study in Shemu'el Aleph. We'll be doing chapters 28, 29, 30, and 31. Okay? Alright, gang, get comfy and we'll get started tonight. Alright. Y'all set? Okie dokie. Shemu'el Aleph, chapter 28. And it came to be in those days that the Philistines gathered their armies for battle to fight with Yisrael. And Achish said to David, "You know, of course, that you are to go out with me in the army, you and your men." And David said to Achish, "Very well, you shall know what your servant should do." And Achish said to David, "Very well, I make you one of my chief guardians forever." He thinks he's got David by the short hairs, and he's going to be his servant forever now. Verse 3, And Shemuel had died, and all Israel had mourned for him and buried him in Ramah, in his own city. And Shaul had put away the mediums and the spiritualists from the land. Okay, now we already know that old Shaul, he's off the rails. He has denied Yahuwah 3 times, and he's got a bunch of evil spirits going on here. So it's interesting that he has put away all the mediums and the spiritualists. The seers. Verse 4, And the Philistines were gathered and came and encamped at Shunem. And Shaul gathered all Israel, and they encamped at Gilboa. And when Shaul saw the army of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart trembled greatly. Yeah, remember how afraid he was when Goliath was out there stomping around? Verse 6, And Shaul inquired of Yahuwah, but Yahuwah did not answer him, either by dreams or by Urim, or by the prophets. Shaul then said to his servants, Find me a woman who is a medium, to go to her and inquire of her. And his servants said to him, Look, there is a woman who is a medium at Endor. And Shaul disguised himself and put on other garments and went, he and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night. And he said, Please divine for me, and bring up for me the one I shall name. But the woman said to him, Look, you know what Shaul has done. Now he has cut off the mediums and the spiritualists from the land. Why then do you lay a snare for my life, to put me to death? And Shaul swore to her by Yahuwah, saying, As Yahuwah lives, no punishment comes upon you for this matter. So he's blaspheming the name of Yah, putting Yah's stamp of approval on his BS. After denying Yahuwah 3 times? Yeah, sure, okay. Verse 11, And the woman said, Whom do I bring up for you? So he said, Bring up Shemuel for me. And when the woman saw Shemuel, she cried out with a loud voice. And the woman spoke to Shaul, saying, Why have you deceived me? You yourself are Shaul. And the sovereign said to her, Do not be afraid. What did you see? And the woman said to Shaul, I saw a spirit coming up out of the earth. And he said to her, What is his form? And she said, An old man is coming up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Shaul knew that it was Shemuel, and he bowed with his face to the ground and did obeisance. And Shemuel said to Shaul, Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up? And Shaul answered, I am deeply distressed, for the Philistines are fighting against me, and Elohim has turned aside from me, and does not answer me any more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. So I have called you to reveal to me what I should do. Then Shemuel said, And why do you ask me, seeing Yahuwah has turned aside from you, and has become your enemy? And Yahuwah has done for himself as he spoke by me. For Yahuwah has torn the rein out of your hand, and given it to your neighbor, to David. Because you did not obey the voice of Yahuwah, nor execute his burning wrath upon Amalek, therefore Yahuwah has done this matter to you today. Further, Yahuwah also gives Israel with you into the hand of the Philistines, and tomorrow you and your sons are with me. Yahuwah also gives the army of Israel into the hand of the Philistines. And immediately Shaul fell on the ground, his complete length, and greatly feared because of the words of Shemuel, and there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no food all day or all night. And the woman came to Shaul, and saw that he had been greatly disturbed, and said to him, See, your female servant has obeyed your voice, and I have put my life in my hands, and have listened to the words which you spoke to me. And now, please listen to the voice of your female servant too, and let me set a piece of bread before you, and eat, so that you have strength when you go on your way. But he refused and said, I am not going to eat. But his servants, together with the woman, urged him, and he listened to their voice. So he rose from the ground and sat on the bed. And the woman had a fatted calf in the house, and she quickly slaughtered it. And she took flour and kneaded it, and baked unleavened bread from it. And she brought it before Shaul and his servants, and they ate, and rose up, and went away that night. Chapter 29. And the Philistines gathered all their armies at Aphek, while Israel encamped by a fountain which is in Israel. And the princes of the Philistines were passing on by hundreds and by thousands, and David and his men were passing on in the rear with Achish. And the princes of the Philistines said, Who are these Hebrews? And Achish said to the princes of the Philistines, Is this not David, the servant of Shaul, sovereign of Israel, who has been with me these days or these years? And to this day I have found no evil in him since he came over. But the princes of the Philistines were wroth with him. And the princes of the Philistines said to him, Send the man back. Let him return to the place which you have appointed for him, and do not let him go down with us to battle, lest the battle he becomes our adversary. For with what could he appease his master, if not with the heads of these men? Is this not David, of whom they sang to each other in dancing, saying, Shaul struck his thousands, and David his 10,000s? And Achish called David, and said to him, As Yahuwah lives, you have been straight, and your going out and your coming in with me in the army is good in my eyes. For to this day I have found no evil in you since the day of your coming to me. But in the eyes of the princes you are not good. And now return, and go in peace, and do no evil in the eyes of the princes of the Philistines. And David said to Achish, But what have I done? And to this day, what have you found in your servant as long as I have been with you, that I should not go and fight against the enemies of my master, the sovereign?" But Achish answered and said to David, "I know that you are as good in my eyes as a messenger of Elohim, as an angel of Elohim. But the princes of the Philistines have said, 'Let him not go up with us to the battle.' And now, rise early in the morning with your master's servants who have come with you, and as soon as you are up early in the morning and have light, then go." And David and his men rose up early to go in the morning, to return to the land of the Philistines. And the Philistines went up to Jezreel. Chapter 30. And it came to be, when David and his men came to Tislag on the third day, that the Amalekites had invaded the south and Tislag, and struck Tislag, and burned it with fire. And they took captive the women and those who were there, from small to great. They did not kill anyone, but they led them away, and went their way. And David and his men came to the city, and saw it burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters had been taken captive. And David and the people who were with him lifted up their voices and wept, until they had no more power to weep. And David's two wives, Ahinoam the Israelitess, and Abigail, the widow of Nabal the Carmelite, had been taken captive. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the being of all the people was grieved, each for his sons and his daughters. But David strengthened himself in Yahuwah, his Elohim. And David said to Abiathar the priest, son of Ahimelech — remember all that happened and how Abiathar ended up with him? Yeah. "Please bring the shoulder garment here to me." So Abiathar brought the shoulder garment to David. And David inquired of Yahuwah, saying, "Do I pursue this band? Do I overtake them?" And he answered him, "Pursue, for you shall certainly overtake them, and certainly rescue." So David went, he and the 600 men who were with him, and came to the Wadi Besor, where the halt was made by those who were left behind. While David pursued, he and 400 men, for 200 halted, who were too faint to pass over the Wadi Besor. And they found a man in the field, a Mitzrayim, and took him to David. And they gave him bread, and he ate. And they let him drink water, and gave him a piece of a cake of figs, and 2 clusters of raisins. And when he had eaten, his strength came back to him, for he had not eaten bread nor drunk water for 3 days and 3 nights. I bet he was pretty wasted out. You didn't have any water for 3 days? That's like the maximum you can go without water. No food. Verse 13. And David said to him, "To whom do you belong, and where are you from?" And he said, "I am a young man from Mitzrayim, servant of Amalekite, and my master left me behind, for I had been sick 3 days." So he'd been sick for 3 days, and then they left him out there with no food and water for another 3 days. Whew, it's a wonder he didn't die. 14. We attacked the south of the Kenathites, and against that which belongs to Yehuda, and upon the south of Caleb, and we burned Tislag with fire. And David said to him, "Could you bring me down to the marauding band?" And he said, "Swear to me by Elohim that you neither kill me nor surrender me into the hands of my master. Then I bring you down to this marauding band. So don't kill me, please, and don't give me back to my master. I'm cool with you guys." Verse 16, he brought him down and saw they were spread out over all the land, eating and drinking and celebrating, because of all the great spoil which they had taken from the land of the Philistines and from, the land of Yehuda. And David struck them from twilight until the evening of the next day, and none of them escaped, except 400 young men who rode on camels and fled. And David rescued all that the Amalekites had taken. David also rescued his 2 wives. And there was none missing to them, whether small or great, whether sons or daughters, or spoil, or whatever they had taken from them. David recovered all. Besides, David captured all the flocks and herds they had driven before those livestock, and they said, "This is David's spoil." And David came to the 200 men who were too faint to follow David, who had also been left at the Wadi Besor. And they went out to meet David, and to meet the people who were with him. And when David came near the people, he greeted them. And all the evil and worthless men of those who went with David answered and said, "Because they did not go with us, we do not give them any of the spoil that we have rescued, except for every man's wife and children, and let them take them and go." So it looks to me like there was some rotten dudes in with all the rest of David's men that were greedy and nasty and were just like, to heck with all those guys. They couldn't come along for the battle. They don't get nothing. Going against Torah. Verse 23, but David said, "My brothers, do not do so with what Yahuwah has given us, who has protected us, and gave into our hand the band that came against us. And who would listen to you in this matter? For as his portion is who goes down to the battle, so is his portion who remains with the baggage. They share alike." And it came to be, from that day forward, he appointed it for a law and a right ruling for Yisrael to this day. And when David came to Ziklag, he sent some of the spoil to the elders of Yehudah, to his friends, saying, "Here's a present for you from the spoil of the enemies of Yahuwah. To those in Bethel, and to those in Ramoth of the south, and to those in Yetur, and to those in Eror, and to those in Siphmoth, and to those in Eshtemoa, and to those in Ratal, and to those in the cities of the Yerimelites, and to those in the cities of the Kenites, and to those in Hormah, and to those in Korshan, and to those in Athak, and to those in Hebron, and to all the places where David had gone up and down, he and his men." So he's sending all of these places some of the spoil that they had recovered in order to pacify all the people. To think, David has sent us all this stuff, he must be an okay guy. Interesting. Diplomacy. Chapter 31. And the Philistines were fighting against Israel, and the men of Israel fled from before the Philistines, and fell slain on Mount Gilboa. And the Philistines followed hard after Shaul and his sons, and the Philistines struck Jehonathan, and Abinadab, and Malchishua, sons of Shaul. And the battle went hard against Shaul, and the archers hit him, so that he was severely wounded by the archers. And Shaul said to his armor-bearer, "Draw your sword, and thrust me through with it, lest these uncircumcised men come, and thrust me through, and roll themselves on me." But his armor-bearer would not, for he was greatly afraid. So Shaul took the sword, and fell on it. And when his armor-bearer saw that Shaul was dead, he also fell on his sword, and died with him. Thus Shaul died, and 3 of his sons, and his armor-bearer, also all his men together on that day. And they saw the men of Israel who were beyond the valley, and those who were beyond the Jordan, that the men of Israel had fled, and that Shaul and his sons were dead. So they forsook the cities and fled, and the Philistines came and dwelt in them. So the Philistines took over all the cities where the children of Israel were dwelling at the time. Everybody just packed up and bugged out. Verse 8. And the next day it came to be, when the Philistines came to strip the slain, that they found Shaul and his 3 sons fallen on Mount Gilboa. And they cut off his head, and stripped off his armor, and sent word throughout the land of the Philistines to announce it in the houses of their idols and to the people. And they placed his armor in the house of Ashtaroth, and they fastened his body to the wall of Beth Shan. They put his armor in the house of Ashtaroth. There's the Ashtaroth again. Let's dance around the fertility pole. Nice. Verse 11. And the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead heard what the Philistines had done to Shaul. And all the brave men arose and went all night, and took the body of Shaul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Beth Shan. And they came to Jabesh and burned them there. And they took their bones and buried them under the tamarisk tree at Jabesh, and fasted for 7 days. And that is the end of Shemu'el Aleph. And the end of Shaul. And the end of Shaul's sons. And the end of all of that part in history. Well, gang, I hope y'all enjoyed this study. I hope y'all learned a lot about the kings, the first 2 kings, well, the first king of Israel. Yeah, he wasn't such a good guy. If he would have just done what he was told, everything would have been okie dokie. But he couldn't follow orders. Went off on his own. Off the rails. Sideways off the rails. It's easy for any of us to do if we're not seeking wisdom and knowledge through the Most High Yahuwah. It's real easy for us to come off the rails. It's real easy for us to just, let's do it my way instead of doing it Yah's way. Yeah, that doesn't work out very well. That's why it's so important that we practice Torah. That's why it's so important that we teach our children the Torah, and that we read the Word to them so that they know and they understand, so that we refresh ourselves in the Word all the time. Go back, reread Torah, study the books, study each one of them, study them individually, but keep reminding yourself what it is that's Yahuwah's will for us, and teach your children. It's so important that we teach our children. All right, gang, that's all I've got for you tonight. We will be seeing you on Shabbat. Okay? All right. Bless each and every one of you that are seeking wisdom and knowledge in Yahuwah, our Elohim. And y'all have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Shabbat. All right, gang. Shalom.